Okay, what I'm going to do today is clean up this back saw. Now, I got this back saw about 6 months ago with a Miller's Falls miter box, and it's just mainly staining on it, and we're just going to take and try out this Rust-Oleum product on it. I've never used this Rust-Oleum. It's a jelly type material. And we're going to give that a go, see how it works. Now, as far as the rest of the saw goes, I'm not doing anything with the tote. I'm not going to refinish it. It's in good shape. I'm going to leave it be. But, you know, make sure you wear safety gloves and safety glasses when you're messing with this stuff. It is an acid. You don't want to get it in your eyes for sure. Now, I'm just using one of these cheap disposable brushes. Read the instructions too. Now it says to wait 15 or 20 minutes to give it a chance to work, and we'll do that and see how it goes. Yeah, it's been about 10 minutes since I put the rust dissolver on the saw blade. Now I did go over with a piece of Scotch Brite pad just to kind of get some of the heavier spots on it, but it seems like it's doing a good job. It is an acid. It really doesn't smell like anything until you put it on the steel and it starts to react to the rust in the steel, and then you can start smelling a slight odor, but it's not terrible. But yeah, it looks like it's doing okay. Okay, I'm done with the rust remover product, and it did a pretty good job. I should have shown you this side first. It was a lot worse than the other side, but it came out real nice and clean. So the rust product worked really good. So that's what it is if you're interested. Now, I bought this myself. No one gave it to me or anything like that, but it worked pretty good. Now, I am going to use some sandpaper and a brass brush on this blade just to clean it up a little bit more. Don't use anything abrasive on the teeth. Scotch Brite pad's okay, steel wool, but that'll hang up like crazy, but I like to use a brass brush. It's not going to harm the teeth. And I always just like to give it a good go. I mean, you can also use it all over the entire blade if you want to. If you find some stubborn spots on the blade, there might be some slight pitting. This blade even had some paint stuck on it, and it'll pull that stuff off. And if you have some places where there's pitting, but yeah, just don't use anything abrasive on the teeth. You're just going to screw them up if you do that. And usually I just use a piece of sandpaper wrapped around a block of wood, and I stay away from the teeth. This is a piece of 180 grit paper. And I just start up here, I go down close to the teeth, and I might hit them once in a while. But just generally try to stay away from the teeth. It might even be easier to take the paper off and just use your fingers And sometimes that works even really well. That's pretty much how I clean up a blade. Now I'll do the other side, and that's pretty much it. Areas where you have like real fine pitting and stuff, it's not going to hurt it. I have some saw blades that are in a lot worse condition than this, and they work just fine. As long as the teeth are in good shape and you can sharpen them up. The plate here, if it's a little rough, it's not the end of the world. It'll still work just fine. Alright, we got her all cleaned up and back together. Now, the blade came out nice. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this saw was probably made around about 1950. The same as the miter box it came with. But it cleaned up pretty good. Now, the only thing I did with the tote was I just cleaned it. I put a coat of paste wax on it. And the brass, I just shined it up a little bit. I didn't make it real shiny. It's not a new saw. I didn't want it to look new. And I'm not going to use it because it needs to be sharpened. It's very dull right now, so it needs to be sharpened before I can really use it. But yeah, it looks much better than it did. You know, it's a good saw, and then once I get it sharpened, I'm sure that it'll work just fine. And you may see it in one of my videos eventually. I do use my miter boxes that I have. The one that this came with, I haven't used it yet just because the saw is dull. But, you know, it's got some paint spatter and stuff on the tote, but that's okay. That's part of its story. And it'll make a nice saw. It's in good shape. And I'm sure that if I don't get to use it, someone else in the future will be able to use it. But there we go. That's the way I clean up a saw blade. I know other people do it differently, but that's the way I do it. I've found that to be the most efficient way to do it, and it's worked just fine for me over quite a few saws that I've cleaned over the years.